Not to worry. The footage that you saw earlier was done by artificial intelligence or AI. I created that intro because the place we're about to visit is actually known for its ghost stories and hauntings. And of course, it's worth exploring. In order to get there, you just need to climb this hill. This is called the Dominican Hill Road, and it's an uphill climb, and it's not easy. I have to admit, I was out of shape when I went to Baguio, but it is still a vacation and I need to take it easy. The point of the vacation is for me to relax and enjoy. Not to mention, it is also fun. It is also fun, especially if you're chatting with the locals. They were kind of laughing at how I was struggling trying to climb up an uphill road. And of course, I deserve that. The way I was breathing, it was way too heavy to the point everyone was starting to look at me. But of course, being able to talk and pedal slowly was a good way to meet new friends or new people. I chose this place because it really has a history, and that's something worth learning about. Who knows, the lot that you're in right now or the place may have some details in the past, and that's part of exploring. The Diplomat Hotel was constructed between 1913 to 1915. It's really meant as a vacation spot by the Dominicans. It was designed by Father Roque Roano. Now, later on, it was planned that it should turn into a school. There is something about the architecture that might look familiar. Since the building was constructed on top of a hill by none other than the Dominicans, it was then known as the Dominican Hill. Unfortunately, World War II actually happened. And when it happened, a lot of atrocities were committed in the hotel itself. Local villagers actually tried to take refuge inside it, but the, um, the Japanese invading forces actually tried to sequester the building, and this is where war crimes were committed. The victims are not just regular people, some of them were children, and some of them were women, and some of them were nuns and priests. This is where the urban legend comes from regarding the hauntings. After raiding the place, the Japanese used this as a headquarters. It became their bastion. The one that actually used this, or the division of the army that used this, is known as the Kampai Tai, and they are the ones that committed those horrendous acts. There were lots of war crimes that was committed in this area, and sometimes it also involves something that should never be mentioned. In April of 1945, the Americans bombed the place and damaged the right wing of the building. This is where most of the Japanese actually committed seppuku. They would rather give up their lives rather than surrender. And according to some, that may have triggered far more supernatural things in that area. The hotel underwent restoration between 1945 to 1947. They tried to preserve the architecture of the building. It was acquired by the Diplomat Hotels Inc. way back in 1973, and it was remodeled into a 33-bedroom hotel. However, it was managed by someone named Antonio Agapito Agpaoa. He claims to be a faith healer and he claims to be a psychic surgeon. Now everything was going well, but in 1980s he suffered with brain hemorrhage, aneurysm. He died in 1987, and after his death, the operation of the hotel ceased and it was abandoned. As a result, we now have the ruins of the hotel. Many looters raided the place, got some things that never belonged to them, and it also suffered some damage during an earthquake. There was a devastating earthquake in the Philippines in 1990, and the one that was hit the hardest was Baguio. There's lots of ghost stories that's circulating in this area. Some of them will describe a floating nun in the hallway. Sometimes in the corner of their eye, they will see a dark hooded figure that kind of looks like a nun. Another ghost story appears as a headless priest that's walking the open corridors. It's a little hard to describe whether he's sitting or standing or simply just floating around, but it's definitely a headless priest. Some folks will even describe the sighting as a lady dressed in white. Here in the Philippines, we have a ghost called the White Lady. It's an apparition of someone with long hair dressed in white, similar to the character Sadako in the movie. However, one of the most common hauntings comes from the fountain. Sometimes they could hear a baby's cry in the middle of the fountain. And some folks will find this one the most disturbing of them all. Most people go to this place in order to capture a picture of a ghost. However, I went to this location for another purpose. I have to admit, this architecture is superb. It's something you will never ever see in the regular buildings of Manila. The only building that might look similar is a building in UST, University of Santo Tomas, and it makes sense. it is created by the same architect. All you need to do is to observe this place and just look. Everything about it is a remnant of the past. There's a certain beauty in old ruins. If you look at the building itself, you can also imagine what it may have looked like. Try to imagine this place as new. Try to imagine the stone walls are clean. And try to imagine old cars passing by this area dropping off passengers. There is something about this place that's really good to behold. I also paid a visit to this place, not just to look at the architecture. This place really have a lot of things to share with you. Let's not forget we're in Baguio, and Baguio really have a lot of nature views. This is one of them. There are lots of places here, but they are usually filled with people. This is actually a location that have less people, and you may have a little more peace. Let's explore this place using a bicycle. You can see that there's lots of greenery in around here, and not to mention you're also going to see lots of flowers. Not exactly something that you're going to see in a haunted mansion. This pathway looks almost like something that came out of a Studio Ghibli. When I was riding this place, there was no sun, but when the sun shines through, you can see the rays, and it really looks like something that's enchanting. There's also another secret to this place that you may want to learn about. If the time is right, like in the early morning, like dawn for example, you might be able to witness the sea of clouds. It's a little rare, but it does happen. And being on top of a hill seeing a sea of clouds is breathtaking. Please pay a visit to this area because it really is a waste. The entrance fee is nothing more than a mere 10 pesos. If you convert it to dollars, it's nothing more than cents. People that goes to this place usually pays a visit to this location for one reason. They go for what we call black tourism or dark tourism. Sometimes it's known as morbid tourism. Despite that, I still recommend it is a good visit, even if you don't believe in ghosts. I personally don't believe in ghosts myself, but this is still worth it. It has a lot of things to share: the history, the nature, and you can almost imagine its glory when it was still functioning. If you're in luck, you might be able to witness what we call the Sea of Clouds. A sea of clouds against a sunset. Now that's something to look forward to. I talked to a local once, and he said that this place is about to be renovated. Who knows? Maybe in the future, we might be able to enter the building. They have to close it. They closed it because, for safety reasons, of course. If you have time, please pay a visit. It's worth it.